Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to update my stock price prediction for Rivian stock in 2024. I recently did this video roughly 2 months ago and new information has come out to necessitate an update to this price prediction. Since I made this price prediction, Rivian forecasted its 2024 production numbers. We've got an updated price to sales ratio and other numbers that have been updated since my previous video. So I'll update all of those, incorporate that into my new valuation prediction for Rivian stock in 2024. So let's jump right into it. I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/Parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now. All right, so one of the numbers I'm going to need is Rivian's price to sales ratio, which is currently at 2.434. You can see this has been coming down in the last year, but this is not alone. Rivian, which is seeing its valuation decrease. Nearly all EV companies have seen their valuations decrease as investors have tempered their enthusiasm for EV stocks. As realities are setting in about the EV industry, investors are downgrading their optimism for EV stocks, Rivian included, even though Rivian, relatively speaking, has been one of the better performing EV companies in the world today in terms of where it is compared to other EV companies that started in a similar position. Not compared to Tesla, of course, which is dominating the EV market. The next thing I wanted to include is the average shareholder dilution. You can see Rivian has been diluting shareholders aggressively. 962 million shares outstanding. That's up from roughly 720 million in 2021. Rivian is losing significant sums of money on the bottom line. I believe the last update it has lost so far since existence over $15 billion it's burned through to get itself to where it is today. And those losses are not going to end in 2024, and they're probably not going to end in 2025. Rivian still needs to increase production to get itself to a point where it can be self-sustaining. Now, the lower priced models are going to help, since the company announced that it's also going to pause construction of the new facility. That's also going to help, right? Why create increasing manufacturing capacity when you're not even producing enough to fulfill your existing capacity? So that's going to help Rivian as well. The next thing I need is the current stock price. Right now, Rivian stock is trading at $11.40 per share. Unfortunately, that's way below where it used to be at the highs, where it was close to $200 per share. Hopefully, you weren't one of those investors that bought Rivian stock close to $200 per share. It's down more than 90% since then, currently trading at $11.40 per share. Of course, I've been following Rivian stock almost since it IPO'd, and I've never recommended the stock as a buy. I've always felt that the price was overvalued. I've always felt the EV industry was overhyped, and so I've never recommended Rivian stock as a buy. And to this day, I don't recommend Rivian stock as a buy. I have it rated closer to a hold in valuation in terms of risk versus reward. I also need Rivian's revenue estimate for 2024, and that's this number here. Analysts expect Rivian to deliver 4.82 billion in revenue in 2024. That would only be an 8.8% increase from the previous year. Now, Rivian stock is priced like a growth stock, but it's hardly growing, just 8.8% increase expected in 2024, which is also surprising to me given that Rivian itself told investors it's not going to increase production for 2024. It's going to keep production flat year over year. So where is this sales growth going to come from? Is it going to come from higher prices? That's unlikely, right? Rivian recently joined the price wars. It lowered price on its few of its models. So average selling price is likely to be lower in 2024. The area where I think Wall Street is sniffing out from management is the forecast being too conservative. I think Wall Street expects Rivian management to deliver more production than it's forecasting for 2024. Management says it's going to be flat. I think Wall Street thinks it's going to be higher. And I tend to agree with Wall Street. I think production is going to be higher than what Rivian is forecasting for 2024. Remember in 2023, they told investors that they were going to produce 50,000 units, and then they increased that to 52,000. Then they increased it to 54,000, and then they actually delivered 57,000. So they are known for giving a conservative forecast to start the year and exceeding those expectations. I think that's what Wall Street sees for Rivian in 2024. I think it sees another one of those types of years where, as it goes forward, the company increases the forecast for 2024. So now that we have the numbers, we can start to incorporate the valuation estimate in my financial model. So what I have here on the left-hand side is the number of diluted shares outstanding, 962 million. I got that number from its latest update. I'm going to assume that Rivian keeps these shares outstanding the same throughout 2024, even though it's more likely that they're going to increase dilution for the year. They're going to dilute shareholders. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt here and give them a better optimistic price forecast, holding this constant, okay? Now, I'm going to use the 4.8 billion revenue estimate that Wall Street expects from Rivian for 2024, 4.82 billion. 4.8, I have it at 4.8 there, so let me update that on the fly. 4.82 billion for 2024. So if I divide the revenue estimate with the number of shares outstanding, I get a sales per share of $5.01 for 2024. So now I'll draw your attention to the right-hand side here with the revenue of $5.01 expected for 2024. The price to sales ratio of 2.434 I got from its current market valuation, 2.434. So if all else stays the same, its revenue hits $5.01, price to sales stays at 2.4, the stock price could reach $12.20 for 2024. Now, that would only be a modest increase of where it's at now at $11.40 for it to rise only 80 cents, roughly 7 to 8% increase for the year. I think Rivian stock investors would be disappointed in that increase. Given the elevated risk associated with Rivian stock, you're looking for at least a double-digit return if you're investing in Rivian stock because it's an above-average risk investment, so you want an above-average return. So at least 12% should be expected, and that's not what's happening if all else remains the same. So one of those factors needs to change. Either the revenue needs to come in above expectations, which we already saw that Wall Street is already sniffing out that Rivian is giving a conservative guidance. So they're already increasing the revenue estimate compared to what management told investors. So if management delivers as expected, as they forecasted, then the revenue that is actually going to come in below what Wall Street expects. Wall Street is expecting Rivian to exceed expectations. So that optimistic forecast is already priced into its revenue here. So what we'll need to increase is the price to sales ratio, which unfortunately I don't think is going to happen. The market for EVs continues to worsen, and I don't think that's going to improve throughout 2024. I think the easing of supply chain constraints that plagued the auto industry in 2020 and 2021 are hurting EV companies because legacy car companies can now produce many more vehicles and they're not constrained, and consumers by a wide margin prefer legacy automobiles. More than 9 out of 10 consumers are choosing legacy automobiles. It's just more practical, right? EVs cost more money and they're more inconvenient. There's little reason for consumers to choose EVs except for those rare instances where it's favorable for that one consumer or those few consumers to choose the EV. Otherwise, in more than 90% of cases, the legacy automobile is just a more practical solution. And I don't think that's going to improve in favor of EVs in 2024. Maybe in 2025, we'll start to see a better balance as these lower priced models come out. But for now, it's not in favor, and I don't think it's going to improve. So in a few other scenarios I've modeled here, if the price to sales falls to 2, the price could fall to 10. If the price to sales falls further, I have some lower price predictions here as well. So in the worst case scenario, the price could fall to $6.26. This is a scenario I don't think is likely either. So my base case, my estimate of where Rivian stock price could be by the end of 2024 is something in the range of $11 per share to $13 per share, which would be relatively where the stock price is at now. I don't see very much upside in Rivian stock heading into 2024, and that's a significant decrease from the previous video where I forecasted Rivian's 2024 price to be above $20 per share. So I'm cutting that price prediction nearly in half here following the recent updates that came out, most specifically the flat forecast from Rivian in terms of production. Even though I fully understand it's a conservative forecast, I was still expecting Rivian management to give a forecast of, at least 10 to 20% increase in production numbers. To see that be flat, I was really, really disappointed in Rivian's prospects given that forecast. Before I let you go, let me tell you about the greatest deal on YouTube. With just a click of a button, you can get free financial analysis from a professor with decades of investing experience. So what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you again soon.